Little nuggets, how's it going? It's your friendly neighborhood Ginge dropping in for another long, unedited talking video. I hope you're really good. Hello to my old faves. Hello especially to all the new people who've joined us on here in the last week or two. I put a video up on YouTube. It was a cover. More so, it was a mashup of two covers like this. That's a visual representation of a mashup. And it was really well received. Thank you so much if you liked it or shared it or whatever. And at the end of the video I did a rare shout out to the Secret Demo Club, and since then we have, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please, there's 400 of us on here. Bah! Fire, fire, pyro, pyro, fireworks, fireworks, pew, pew, pew. Seriously, that's like just a crazy, insane achievement. Patreon isn't like Instagram, it's not like a super mainstream, widely understood platform. It's so niche still, and it just feels like a huge achievement, not for me but for us as a gang. So thank you so much. I say it all the time. I fear that I'm cheapening it by saying it so often, but whatever. Your support means everything, so thank you so much. If you're new on here, I hope you enjoy your time here. I hope you know that you're so welcome, and you can download the songs every month and just be a fly on the wall and just keep an eye on what I'm doing. But if you're up for it, I'd love people commenting on here. I want this to be an interactive space. I don't want it to be an Orla shrine all the time. So please get commenting, and you'll notice the people that comment on these posts again and again are just incredible. They're some of the nicest people I've ever met in my time on the internet. So yeah, please join us. I want this to be a space where we can have real conversations, because it's closed off. It's not like Facebook where all your friends and family can see everything you do. And so when I'm writing songs about specific themes, it's really nice to be able to put up posts and have people share their experiences. And you should know it's just a total safe space. You can be so vulnerable and honest on here, and I appreciate it so much. It gives so much back to me as well when people are like that. So thank you so much for joining up. I do talky videos on here. They're usually super long, so not for everyone. But they can often be divided into two types of video. One are just vloggy update videos where I talk about what I'm up to. But the second of which I'm going to do today, they're a kind of little mini-series I'm calling Behind the Tunes. Roll the intro. There's no intro. They're just a series of videos where I talk about different aspects of the music industry in an attempt to be more transparent. Not just for me, but I think the music industry in general. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I wish that I'd known more about these things when I was a bit younger. I moved to London 3 years ago to be a musician, but also to just learn more about the industry. As an artist who was unmanaged for a long time, I felt it was just very important for me to like be knowledgeable and understand the industry I was trying to get into and make informed choices for myself. So I've asked a lot of questions in my time, and therefore I have these mini pockets of knowledge. I will give a disclaimer, like all of the things that I say are just totally things that I've found in my experience and aren't necessarily always the case, or not to be taken as scripture, basically. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to talk about live shows today, gigs, concerts, whatever you want to call them. I think there are 2 videos here to be made, so I'm going to split them. I'm going to talk about the creative side of it in one video, so production, putting on shows, crew members, who comes on tour with an artist, session players, the actual creative music side of putting on a live show or a tour. And then the other video, which I'm going to do today, is the business side of it. It's things like various roles like booking agents and promoters. Who are they? What do they do? How do people make money? How do people make that sweet, sweet paper? Wah, bam, bam, bam. Or how do they lose it? Yeah, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. If you're on here, on Patreon, full stop, I feel like you're a fan of someone. It could be me. I feel like that's at least the common denominator here, but you're likely also a fan or a supporter of other artists. And maybe you go to live shows, or maybe you're a musician that puts on live shows and wants to put on more. And it's attempting to make sense of this mystery. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I have 2 post-it notes of various bullet points, I'm just going to pick each one and talk about each one, and hopefully it will all join up and paint a picture. So, alright, let's do this. This is Behind the Tunes, live shows, the business side. Roll the credits. There's no credits either. Cool, okay, let's dive in. The first thing that I've written down is headliner and support. We're starting easy. I think everyone knows what these are. The headliner is the main act. It's the last act that plays. They usually play the longest set. They're on a bill, most likely the more established or more popular act. And they're the name on the ticket. If you go see a Paramore gig, Paramore are the headliner. I think this is all pretty obvious. Then you might have acts that play before the headliner. Not always, but sometimes. These are called your opener or your support. If there's one act and then the headliner, then they can be called the opener or the support. If there are two, the opener opens the show, the support or the main support is usually the second act in that case, and then the headliner. So that's pretty easy, I think. I should say, I'm talking with all of this structural stuff about slightly bigger scale shows of hundreds or thousands of people, theatres and arenas and bigger. The kind of structure I'm talking about is the structure that artists of my level just about enter into. I'm not talking about really small shows like open mics or acoustic nights or pub gigs that the artists have booked themselves or anything like that. I'm talking about sort of artists that have a team or a label, the structure that comes around them. So yes, that's your headliner and your support. I'm going to talk at the end of this video about how people get support shows and slots and tours and things like that. The second is another really obvious one. It's venue. The venue is where the show is on. Duh. That was more of a duh to myself. I'm not really sure why I wrote that down. But yeah, the venue is it could be an outdoor venue, could be a park, could be a zoo, could be a theatre, could be an arena, could be a barbershop, could be a living room. It's just where the show is on. The venue, like everything, has a part to play. They make money in a different way. We'll get to that in a little bit, but that's your venue. Now the big ones. I've written down booking agents. What the hell is a booking agent? Well, a booking agent is someone that an artist picks to represent them just for live performances. They're kind of like your manager of the live side of what you do. They're super important. Picking the right booking agent is arguably as important as picking the right manager. If you stick with them right throughout your career, there's someone who is constantly thinking of the next chess move in terms of live shows. So they're thinking about when is a good time to do a headline tour? When is a good time to pitch for support tours? When is a good time to do a headline London one-off show? And when you play those shows, what is a good size venue to go to? What kind of venue should you be playing in that suits your act and suits your audience? So that's where they come into things. The booking agent makes money as a percentage of the artist's fee for performing. So what I mean by that is, if you're Mumford & Sons and you get booked to play a festival like Glastonbury, your booking agent will negotiate your fee with whoever is booking you for the show. And if you come to 100,000 as a fee, then your booking agent scrapes a little bit off the top, and that's what they get. It's usually like 10%. So in that case, it would be 10 grand. That's pretty big though. That's like pretty unheard of, but you could get booked for that much. So that's where your booking agent makes money. So it's in their best interest and yours for them to negotiate a fair fee for you performing. Shows cost money to put on, and it's really easy to forget this, but if you have a crew and people on stage, a session band playing with you, and a tour manager and accommodation where you're all staying, all of that costs money from the artist side. So it's really important to have a fee that makes sure that the artist doesn't lose out on money. But that's where the booking agent comes in. So they negotiate, they represent you in your live side of things. Sometimes they're being approached with opportunities, and sometimes they're chasing the opportunities. So what I mean by that is booking agents are sometimes, they're the ones trying to pitch you for support tours. So someone could come along and say, hey, your band is really good. I think we'd like to pitch you for the 1975 Arena Europe tour. You know, that would be amazing for your band. So the booking agent of the hopefully support act They'll do what they can to get in touch with the booking agent of the headline act, and they'll try and pitch you. They'll make a case for why it would be a great match for the band and things like that. So sometimes they're chasing opportunities, sometimes they're booking tours around a release that you're doing, but sometimes opportunities are coming to them. So it kind of works both ways as a booking agent. The next one, and this is the other big one, is a promoter. It sounds kind of straightforward. They promote the show. They do what they can to inform the public that the show is on, to sell tickets. But it kind of goes a bit further than that, and you'll understand what I mean by this in a minute. But the promoter is the person that takes the risk on the show. So let's create a fake scenario to dive into this a bit more. So let's say I'm a promoter and I'm a big fan of a band. Let's pick a band, kind of mid-sized band. Let's pick the Staves. They're an amazing band, alternative folky band from near London. I love them. So I'm a promoter and I'm like, the Staves are really great. They're doing really well right now and I really want to book them a show. I want to book them a London show because you can book bigger, like in bigger cities you can generally book bigger shows because people are likely to travel from other places. So the promoter's like, okay, the Staves, let's book a headline show in London, and then I'll pick a venue. I'll look at things like when's the last time they released music, where's the last place they played a headline show, can they do a slightly bigger venue this time, is there enough hype and buzz, are the audience of the band still very engaged, and is there demand for a show? And when I've looked at all those factors as a promoter, I'll pick a venue, and let's say we pick Shepherd's Bush Empire. It's a venue in Shepherd's Bush, obviously, which is in West London, and I think the capacity seated and standing combined is about 2,000. Let's say 2,000 for ease. So I, as the promoter, I go, right, I think the Staves would put on a fantastic show in Shepherd's Bush Empire. I think that would be a great match. It's slightly bigger than the last show they played, but still not out of reach. So in this case, I would, as promoter, I would then make contact with the artist via the booking agent. I would say, hello, booking agent of the Staves. I would really like to book the Staves to play a headline show in Shepherd's Bush Empire this November, for example. Here's a bunch of dates that you can choose from, depending on what suits the band. Are you in? The booking agent might say, no, this doesn't make sense to do a show, we're planning to do a show next year. Or they might say, yeah, actually this is perfect, I think this is a great idea for the band. So then they talk about the money, sweet money, and then the booking agent goes, all right, they'll either say, look, we play for a minimum this much. But also sometimes the promoter will say, well, here's how much I'm offering, and between them they'll decide on a fee. So let's pick a fee out of the sky. Let's say the promoter goes, okay, I'm offering a guarantee, asterisk, explanation coming. I'm offering a guarantee of $6,000. And if we sell out, then there's the possibility of more for the band. So what that means is the promoter is taking a risk to say, I promise to pay the artist at least $6,000 as a performance fee, whether we sell one ticket or whether we sell 2,000 tickets. So that's where the risk comes in. And then if they sell it out, maybe there'll be a sliding scale where they get paid minimum $6,000, but anything up to $10,000 if they sell it out, something like that. And again, it's important for the artist to have this guarantee because a show costs money to put on, and if you have a show under your own name, you shouldn't be losing money really. So cool. And then again, the booking agent's getting a little percentage of that, so they may negotiate that until they're happy with it. So then it comes to showtime. Oh no, let's rewind a bit. So the booking agent's happy, the artist is happy, the promoter's happy, the venue is booked. And then the show gets announced. And the job of the booking agent's kind of done at this point. They've negotiated the fee, they've agreed it, it's done. They can move on to the next thing. But the job of the promoter at this point really has just begun, because between the show being announced and the show being on, they've got to shift those tickets somehow. Now obviously the artist will announce and they'll do their bit to get the word out to their, to their fans and their supporters. But really they're getting paid either way. So the promoter's job is to then think, right, let's look at the potential audience here. What is the best way to reach them? If it's an act with a huge online presence, they might say, let's do a Facebook ad campaign. let's look at your mailing list, let's try and reach people through social media. If it's an act with a slightly older following, more like sort of 40, 50 plus, they might say, right, those people are maybe not on social media as much, let's try and put an ad in the paper, let's try and put like physical posters up somewhere, things like that. So the promoter's got to be nifty, it's got to be clever, and think about the kind of audience that the act has and how to reach them best, and just tell them that the show is on. So it comes to showtime, and let's say the Staves sell it out. They absolutely smash it. They sell 2,000 tickets. Everyone's super happy. Soupy. Everyone's super happy. And where does the money go at the end of it? So I don't know what you would charge as a ticket thing, but let's say for ease, I've just so many post-its, I need to get rid of them. Let's say for ease, the combined ticket sales come to 30 grand. Now sites like Ticketmaster, they get their money from the little booking fee for like £1 or £2 that you pay when you book your ticket. So they're done. They don't need to be paid as far as I understand. That is what we're starting with. We're starting with £30,000. Now what is coming out of that? The promoter, as well as having to guarantee the artist's fee, they have to pay the venue. The venue is being used, again, whether 1 ticket is sold or 2,000 tickets are sold. So let's say Shepherd's Bush Empire is 10,000. So that's venue. That's what we're on so far. We guaranteed the artist 6,000, but we told them that they could get a bit more if they sold it out. So let's say the Staves, in this case, get 10,000 as well. Woo! So that leaves 10,000 left. Woo. Which, in theory, goes to the promoter. But remember, the promoter was spending money trying to advertise the ticket sales. They were using online ads or ads in the paper. So that maybe costs, let's say, £2,000. Leaving the promoter, in this case, with 8,000, if that makes any sense. It's a little bit badly laid out. But that's what we're looking at. Now, you could keep dividing further because the artist themselves, unfortunately, isn't getting that full fee. If, let's say, the artist is getting 10,000, you've got, for argument's sake, 10% off the top is going to the booking agent. Then what's left for the artist, they've got to give their manager a cut of that. And if they're signed to a label, they've got to get a cut of it. So it kind of becomes this slightly funny thing where the artist, so the person whose name is on the ticket, is often not really being paid as much as people like the venue, but ho hey. They're also selling merch, which is another revenue stream. So cool. So that's kind of a super rough breakdown of where the money goes in the case of a kind of big theatre show. Like anything, arena tours, huge commercial, massive pop stars, that money becomes hundreds and hundreds of thousands. For smaller acts like me, it becomes hundreds. But that's what you're looking at. So the kind of interesting dynamic is between the booking agent and the promoter. And in this situation, in this example, the promoter approached the booking agent and says, I want to put on a show with your act. I want to promote a show. But sometimes it will be the other way around. Sometimes the booking agent will say, hey, I want to do a London show for my act, or I want to do a whole tour. And in that case, they'll start contacting the promoters and it will work the other way around. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I've got one more thing written down here, and that is, how do you get support slots? And I have a slightly, well, the answer is basically there's a ton of ways, and none of them are very easy all the time. In my experience, most of the support slots that I have played on either tours or one-off shows have been through friends. I know that's a really annoying answer for any musicians because not everyone has loads of musician friends, but I was lucky enough to know a few bands in Dublin where I grew up, and some of those bands and acts moved to London where I then moved. So I've been lucky enough to be in sort of communities of musicians. I live with a bunch of musicians. We're all drawn to each other. We're like-minded creatures. So people like Hudson Taylor, people like Gabrielle Lapland, people like Codaline, that was just me DMing and asking, hey, I just saw you announced a show. If you're looking for support, I'd love to be considered. I have a horrible complex with putting myself forward for support things because I know it would be good, and I know the people I'm asking have been in those situations themselves where they've asked and they've been really glad that they have. But also, if they're your friends, you don't want to look like you're using them. There's a whole complex there that I could be better at. But at the end of the day, the person you're asking knows exactly what it's like, and they've most likely asked in the past to be put forward for things, so it's usually fine. But that's, in my experience, how I've got the vast amount of my supports for tours and various things. I also haven't done a huge amount of support stuff. Like, I've never gone on a huge support tour of like America or Europe or anything. They've just been things around Ireland and the UK and one-off shows and stuff. Because going on tour as a support act, like, is expensive. And this is kind of an interesting thing because I feel no one talks about it. Like, if my booking agent rang me up tomorrow and was like, hey, like, great news, I've pitched you for the Paramore support tour next year. They're doing arenas. It's all over Europe. I don't know if this exists, but let's say it does. A part of me would be like, oh my god, that's a life-changing, amazing experience. And then I look at accommodation, travel, band, tour manager, crew, all the things come with it, and I go, wow, this opportunity will cost me 20 grand. So that's where I guess signed acts that have a pool of money to draw from are often in a better position when it comes to going on big support tours. Luckily, because a lot of the tours I've been on, I've been friends with the people, it's so much more casual. I can hop in the van, cut down on costs, play solo shows, cut corners wherever I have to. But that's the interesting thing. Yeah, it costs money to go on tour because a support act, you're not being paid like the headliner is. You might get a tiny bit, but it's so minuscule and will never ever cover your costs. But like anything, I guess you could argue that going on a support tour and playing in front of people who are hopefully matched to your kind of music is just advertising, and it's arguably a better way of reaching people than like a random billboard or something, or a sponsored post on Facebook. You're actually playing your music to them, so they can be really beneficial. How else do people get support slots? Sometimes the artist picks them. So like, if I was going on a tour now, because of the kind of size that I am, which is really small, I'd most likely just be like, hey, my friend that I live with, I think she'd be a really good match, and it's most likely people around me would be like, oh, that's fine, yeah, sounds good. If I was Little Mix or some huge big commercial thing, there's like way more people who are going to want to have a say in the choice of who gets the support. It could be the manager of the headline act is saying, oh, I manage this other act and I want them to get the opportunity. You could be on a label that has other acts that are waiting for the opportunities. There's a lot of people that want it, usually, when you're going on a big tour. And usually the artist gets to veto, like they get to say yes or no, but it's not always solely their choice. So that's always funny. One thing that sometimes that I've heard goes on the huge big scales of like One Direction, Lil Mixy. I know One Direction don't really exist anymore. That's very old school of me. Like an old little granny. But on that kind of stage, on those kind of super commercial tours, there is sometimes a culture of people buying on to support, if that makes sense. So there could be Little Mix are going on this big arena tour. There's another signed act. They're willing to invest money to promote their act, and they'll say, look, we'll actually pay 15 grand to be the support, as well as covering our own costs for how much that will cost us. And yeah, it kind of makes me feel uncomfortable, that whole idea, because it's a very pay-to-play thing, and it's kind of sad, and it means that not everyone gets the same opportunities. But yeah, I'm being naive and thinking all of that. And then from the headliner's perspective, here's someone who will give you money to help you cover the costs of putting on your tour. So I understand why people go with it, but it's kind of a shame. So yeah, some people buy on to those big supports. But like I said, playing a support show to a brand new audience that might love your music and follow you and support you for the rest of your career, if it goes well, fantastic. Like, that is amazing, and it's a great way of getting out there. So yeah, I think that's everything. I hope that makes some sense. I think the main thing is that booking agent promote a thing, and that's kind of interesting. I feel the word agent is like hugely misused in music. When I was looking for a general manager, a lot of people in my family were like, oh cool, like you gotta find yourself an agent, and I was like, no, I gotta find myself a manager. And I think it's easy to get it confused with things like actors, where as an actor your agent kind of is your manager pretty much. So yeah, your booking agent as an artist just looks after your live side of things, I think, or at least I hope that makes sense. As always, if you have any questions I can be helpful with, please leave them in the comments. And yeah, I hope you're good. I hope you enjoyed my waffling. And for the rest of the day, I am working on your August demo, and I really hope it's going to be great. It's sounding cool so far, but a long way to go. Gonna have it to you before the end of the month. So cool. Have a great day, guys. Love you lots. Bye.